Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra camera test. Peace be upon you, my dear friends and followers of the channel. How are you today? I hope you are well and in good health. Today with you is a beautiful, new and important video for everyone. This video will be called the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra camera test. But before watching the video, subscribe to the channel and like and share so that it reaches the largest number of people. Now let's watch the video and I hope you like it. We put the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra through a battery of rigorous benchmark camera tests to measure its performance in photo and video quality and zoom from an end-user perspective. Here in the video I will demonstrate the device's performance in a variety of tests and several common use cases and aim to highlight the most important results of our testing through a snippet of the data captured. Overview. Main camera specifications. Primary camera, 200MP 1.3 sensor, 0.6 micro pixels, f/1.7 aperture lens, daf, f/OIS ultra-wide camera, 12MP 1.55 sensor, 1.4 micro pixels, f/2.2 aperture lens, daf, f/OIS telephoto camera 1, 10MP 1/3.52 sensor, 1.12 micro pixels, f/2.4 aperture lens, daf, OIS, 3x optical zoom telephoto camera 2, 10MP 1/3.52 sensor, 1.12 micro pixels, f/4.9 aperture lens, daf, OIS, 10x optical zoom pros. Very good detail, fairly wide dynamic range in all conditions, good detail across most zoom settings, very effective video stabilization, accurate autofocus in both photos and video cons, low contrast in backlit scenes, noise in low light and indoor spaces, occasional localized loss of detail on faces, effects of fusion in all conditions, slight throw off of white balance, accidental underrepresentation of faces in low light videos with a benchmark camera score of 140. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra scored very well in our camera tests. It performed well across almost all test features, without major drawbacks in any area, making it a great smartphone for versatile photography. Still images have excellent detail in bright light and a fairly wide dynamic range across all light levels. Please note that still image testing was conducted at the default 12MP resolution. The camera also allows for photos to be taken with higher image resolution. Telezoom at very long range was a strength, thanks to Samsung's dual zoom approach with a dedicated 10x camera. However, despite the higher-end hardware, the overall zoom results were slightly lower than rivals like the Huawei Mate 50 Pro or Honor Magic 4 Ultimate, which offer more consistent zoom quality with just one higher resolution telephoto camera module. Effective stabilization and fast, accurate autofocus meant the Galaxy S23 Ultra was also good for video. However, white balance in low light left some room for improvement. Compared to its predecessor, the S22 Ultra, Samsung engineers have managed to achieve improvements in several areas, including video stabilization, slightly better zoom, noticeably better video exposure, and improved autofocus speed in bright light. Please note that all comparisons with the S22 Ultra in this review were made using the Snapdragon version of this device. The S23 Ultra only comes as a Snapdragon variant. Unlike previous generations, there is no Exynos supported version. Friends and family. Friends Family is the result of a new use case, introduced with the latest version 5 of the benchmark camera test protocol. It is designed to represent the test device's ability to take technically good photos and videos in the most common consumer use cases: family, friends, pets. It is calculated from data recorded during image, zoom and video tests involving people and moving objects, for a total of more than 60 laboratory scenes and real scenes with models. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra is capable of taking high-quality portrait photos and videos in most lighting conditions. The device's autofocus was high performance, managing to capture the decisive moment in both indoor and outdoor conditions. However, in low-light situations, our engineers noticed a slight delay between the moment the shutter was triggered and the actual capture. Exposure in the photo was generally handled well, except when it came to difficult backlight situations, where low contrast gave faces an unnatural look, while the S23 Ultra managed to maintain the natural color ambience of a scene. Skin tones were inaccurate at times. When shooting videos, face tracking was very effective, keeping the faces of moving objects in focus. Low lighting and low light. The S23 Ultra produced a good exposure with a very wide dynamic range, capturing decent detail in both light and shadow areas of the frame. In terms of color, the engineers chose to preserve some of the ambience produced by the dim, warm light sources, providing generally pleasant colors in low light. Many competitors tend to take a more neutral approach to low light-white balance, but what you prefer is largely down to personal taste. About DxOMark camera tests. DxOMark camera evaluations are conducted in laboratories and in real-world situations using a variety of subjects. The results are based on objective tests, in which results are calculated directly by measurement software on our laboratory setup, and on perceptual tests, in which a sophisticated set of metrics allows a group of image experts to compare aspects of image quality that require human judgment. The smartphone testing involves a team of engineers and technicians for about a week. Image, zoom and video quality are scored separately and then combined into an overall score for comparison between cameras in different devices. For more information about the DxOMark camera protocol in our tests, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra performed well for still photography, capturing impressively high levels of detail in landscape shots. The wide dynamic range is a slight improvement over the previous S22 Ultra, and ensures good light and shadow detail, even when capturing challenging, high-contrast scenes. On the downside, in backlit portrait scenes, the lack of contrast on faces resulted in an unnatural appearance, and in low-light conditions, image noise can become quite annoying. Approximation zoom is the third new usage score introduced with the DxOMark version 5 camera. It evaluates the camera's ability to capture detail at distances of less than 10 cm and zoom as close to 1:1 as possible. The Galaxy S23 Ultra did a good job of capturing details in macro mode. In addition, macro images have bright, pleasant colors. On the downside, noise was very noticeable when viewing images up close, and visual grating was noticeable compared to the S22 Ultra. In terms of exposure, the Galaxy S23 Ultra is a slight improvement over its predecessor, the S22 Ultra. In our tests, the dynamic range was slightly wider on the new model, and in these samples, you can see that the S23 Ultra retained more detail in the cropped background of the image. A very slight improvement over the S22 Ultra was also evident in our contrast entropy test in the lab. In this test, we changed the brightness of a panel lit from grayscale blocks to increase or decrease the brightness difference to the dead leaves scheme in the same test setting. As you can see, the S23 Ultra offered slightly better entropy than the comparison devices in almost all lighting conditions. Exposure instability was an issue, with noticeable exposure differences between successive shots of the same scene. In comparison, the iPhone 14 Pro is more consistent. The compression of tone on faces was another weak point in terms of exposure. In this sample, contrast is low on faces, resulting in an unnatural effect. The S23 Ultra was able to maintain the vibrant color and natural color ambience of a scene even in low light conditions. In this scene, the slightly warm ambient lighting tint was well preserved. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra performed well overall for autofocus, with fast capture in bright light and under indoor lighting, even in high contrast conditions. This is a huge improvement over the S22 Ultra, which took longer to capture images in outdoor conditions. This sample shows delayed capture in low light. In this scene, the trigger is triggered when the person passes through the wall. The iPhone did an excellent job and captured the photo instantly. Both Samsung devices were noticeably slower and only took the photo after the subject got closer to the camera. The S23 Ultra did a good job of capturing image details in all lighting conditions. In this shot, taken under indoor lighting, the improvement over the S22 Ultra is quite noticeable. However, our testers noticed a local loss of sharpness in some scenes. In this image, the level of sharpness is not constant across the face in the foreground. Overall, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra did a good job of controlling image noise levels and balancing them with texture. However, in some scenes, Like the one below, our testers noticed unexpectedly high brightness noise. We found a variety of image artifacts in the sample shots we captured with the S23 Ultra, the most common being fusion artifacts, like the ones visible in this scene. However, the mixed low light made it difficult to shoot under conditions. The 23 Ultra captures bokeh shots at a 35mm equivalent focal length of 67mm, which is a very suitable focal length for portraits and very close to the S22 Ultra. In fact, the appearance of the S23 Ultra's bokeh shots was quite similar to those captured by the previous camera, with natural exposure and good isolation of the subject from the background. However, some minor fragmentation artifacts in complex scenes meant it wasn't on the same level as the best camera in its class. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra scored fairly well in the preview category, but couldn't match the iPhone 14 Pro, which managed to get a more similar exposure between the preview image and the final capture. In the telephoto department, Samsung engineers have opted for a dual lens approach. The S23 Ultra uses two zoom modules with relatively small image sensors and zoom factors of 3x, 69mm, and 10x, 230mm, respectively. In contrast, most of its direct competitors, such as the Google Pixel 7 Pro, Huawei Mate 50 Pro, and Honor Magic 4 Ultimate, use only a single telephoto camera module with a larger image sensor and higher pixel count. Results were encouraging, with good levels of detail across most zoom settings. Thanks to the dedicated 10x unit, performance was very good at very long range and bright light. However, the S23 Ultra lags behind the competition in the near term, where we would have expected better results, given that the primary camera uses a 200MP sensor which should provide excellent digital zoom capabilities. Overall, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra was able to beat out the iPhone 14 Pro in the zoom category, thanks to more consistency across the zoom range and much better results at very long ranges. However, it couldn't match the overall quality of the Huawei Mate 50 Pro or Honor Magic 4 Ultimate, which delivered better results in most of the ranges tested. However, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra generally had the best results at very long range and bright lighting conditions. Zoom in on the video. This graph shows the degree to which video detail is preserved in low light, indoor and outdoor conditions when using zoom. The level of detail is measured at multiple focal lengths, including those that can be selected directly via a button on the camera's user interface. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra delivered consistently higher levels of detail from ultra-wide, 14mm/0.5x, to long range, 280mm/10x, compared to its predecessor, the Galaxy S22 Ultra, Snapdragon. However, the iPhone 14 Pro was able to deliver better detail in most conditions. During our testing, we discovered a small limitation that can likely be fixed with a firmware update. When starting to zoom from the 0.6x, ultra-wide, zoom setting, it was not possible to zoom more than 2x. However, from an initial magnification factor of 1x, it was possible to go up to 10x. The S23 Ultra's ultra-wide camera comes with a 13mm equivalent focal length, providing a wide field of view. Additionally, the display was very good in bright outdoor conditions. Things looked a little different under indoor lighting and in low light, where noise can get quite annoying. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra generally captured good detail at most zoom settings. The boost is noticeable at 230mm, where images are captured at the native resolution of the dedicated 10x unit. However, things looked less positive under indoor lighting, 100 lux, where the zoom unit's relatively small image sensor suffered from noise. It's worth noting that the S23 Ultra doesn't use its 10x module below 5 lux, likely to keep noise under control. At the close telephoto range, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra generally captured good detail, but testers expected more from the primary camera's 200MP sensor, which should, in theory, enable excellent detail, even when a degree of digital zoom is applied. In terms of image detail in the close telephoto range, the Samsung was on par with the best in its class, but exhibited higher levels of noise. At medium and long range, roughly equivalent to 69mm to 230mm, the Galaxy S23 Ultra was able to capture good details. However, noise was noticeable when shooting indoors or in low light. We noticed that the camera sometimes used image blending when approaching the 10 by 230mm zoom factor. This worked well, with excellent detail in the center of the frame. However, there was also a significant drop in detail towards the edges. Click on the main thumbnails below to open the full-size image. However, the fusion algorithms didn't always turn on, resulting in somewhat disappointing texture and detail rendering, as in these samples captured at the telephoto 8x zoom setting. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra gets the most out of its 10x camera module when shooting in bright light. In such conditions, noise is well under control and Samsung is ahead of the competition. However, things change in dim conditions. The relatively small optical sights, 1.12 microns, of the telephoto sensor struggled to reduce noise. In this sample scene, the Huawei Mate 50 Pro, which used a much shorter 90mm telephoto camera, produced an image with better detail and less noise than the S23 Ultra. Over a very long range, such as in the 100x sample below, the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra was able to achieve better detail than the best competitors. However, image quality at this kind of maximum zoom factors is generally low on all smartphones. The S23 Ultra's video mode was tested at 4K 60 fps, with the auto frame option enabled by default. This option automatically reduces the frame rate when shooting in low light. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra performed well overall as a video capture device. Autofocus tracking was very good, with fast and accurate performance ensuring faces were in focus. Additionally, the video stabilization was one of the best we've seen yet. In our tests, it was able to handle even strong camera movement in difficult scenarios. Our testers also found white balance and color rendition to be mostly accurate in bright light and when shooting indoors. However, in low light, we noticed some white balance instability. Videos captured on the S23 Ultra featured a wide dynamic range in bright light, recording good detail in both light and shadow areas of the frame. However, our testers noticed some tone compression in highlighted areas when shooting high contrast scenes. Exposure transitions were very smooth, despite occasional overshoot. Color rendition was good in bright outdoor lighting conditions, especially on skin tones. However, we also noticed a blue tint occasionally. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra's video autofocus delivered excellent performance in most conditions. Only in very low light can focus transitions be faster and smoother at times, seen at around 9 seconds in this sample. In this clip, the iPhone provided quick, barely visible focus transitions. The Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra's video footage provided good detail, with plenty of fine texture, especially when recording in daylight conditions. In low light, detail drops slightly, as you'd expect, especially in low contrast areas of the frame, but detail rendering remained good overall. In video mode, the ability to control noise is one of Samsung's biggest strengths. Temporal and spatial noise are kept out very well. Again, things changed a bit in low light conditions, as brightness noise became noticeable on moving objects and in shadow areas. Video stabilization worked reliably in our tests, even handling walking and running motion well. There was just a bit of camera movement and the occasional frame shift effect. The iPhone was slightly better, thanks to more effective playback motion stabilization. Overall, the most common video artifacts were well under control on the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. But testers did notice some minor artifacts, including aliasing, more copyright, color quantization, and ringing. And thanks to a frame rate of 60 fps in bright light, action was pleasingly smooth. At the end of the video, I thank you for watching and I hope you liked it, and see you in a new video.